Hi there, I'm John and welcome back to my YouTube channel. First of all, I want to say a very happy new year to all of you and also want to thank you for the support last year. I started this journey about 2 months ago now in November, and the support has been immense and I am very grateful and thankful, and here's to more this year in 2024. Definitely going to be more videos and more content for you guys. So today is finally going to be the long awaited top books of the year video, which should have come earlier. I'm so sorry, this is like the middle of January, but here it is either ways. So first of all, like the stats for last year, I'm just going to rush through those. Last year I read 32 books, which was one book down from my 2022 amount. I read 33 in 2022, and that was the first year I read like more than 15 books in a year. So I was very happy with the number last year, but at the same time I did not get to my goal. But I don't think that was like really the biggest issue for me. My goal was 50 books, although ideally I want to get to 50 eventually in 1 year. So, and last year I think a lot of my reading slowed down like more than usual. It was supposed to be more, but I had school and I had like a lot of my fellowships activities as well, and so you'll see that a bulk of the books, if you follow me on Goodreads, my Goodreads is like in the description box below. If you follow me there, you see like a lot of my reading took like a turn, in the sense that I started reading more short works. When people who know me know, like I like more bulky books. At least I read more bulky books in a year than shorter books, but last year it was more short essay collections, like short fiction as well. But it's reading either ways, and in terms of quality, I would not say last year was like my favorite reading year, because like the quality was not like the greatest. If you check my average rating for last year was about 3.1, in the sense that I did not read anything that I would say like overwhelmed me. I read like books I really liked. I have about 4 books to talk about here today. 4 books for the favorite section and 2 honorable mentions. But like for what like gripped me compared to 2022, nothing stood out like in that sense. I do very much, like I said, like what I picked here today. But you see that in a year, I usually have at least, in a year, I have at least one 5-star book, at least since 2019. I've had one 5-star read every year since that year up until last year. But in 2023, there was no 5-star read. Yeah, they were just like maybe very high 4 stars. So I'll just get into the video now. The first honorable mention is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. This is a darling classic. It's one of like the most popular, maybe the most popular classic ever, and yeah, it was my introduction into classic literature. I've owned this since 2020 when I first started buying books, and because I bought it because of course of its reputable nature, even though then I really did not know anything about it. I just knew about its fame. But yeah, I started this in 2022 October and finished it in February 2023, and I enjoyed it. I really liked it. It took me a while, I would say. It did take me a while, and it was a lot to settle into for me, actually, the writing style, because it was not something I had read. I'd never read anything like it before in that like old British 18th century or 19th century style. But yeah, I enjoyed it very much. I enjoyed the cast of characters, and Mrs. Bennet was like, of course, the star character, because she was endlessly funny and charming with her complaints about her poor nerves. And yeah, I enjoyed the story. I really, in my review, it's on my website linked below as well. I described it as like probably this was the book that birthed like the enemies to lovers trope in popular media now. I think I don't know if there was anything like this before then, but I really think like this was what set the bar, or like this was what like implemented this genre at least. So I enjoyed it, and I definitely want to read more from Austen. It's not like a favorite of all time, or I did not maybe love it in comparison to how other people do, but I really did have a lovely time, and it was so funny. I think the humor in this, Austin's humor, is unmatchable. Like so many love moments from this. So yeah, Pride and Prejudice. I think you know it. If you have not read it, just read it. My next honorable mention is Stoner by John Williams, which I finished on the 31st. And yeah, I think this has made quite an appearance on the channel already, and it is the darling classic that everybody seems to love. Everybody who has read it seems to love. I said I had not seen any like bad review of this, and I still have not. And yeah, I finally finished it. I started this in August last year. I started this with alongside my friend Alana Estelle, who I made a deal with to read a favorite book of hers while she read one of mine, and she chose Sorrow and Bliss, like I said, and I chose this, and she finished Sorrow and Bliss in August. And well, I just mentioned when I finished this, but yeah, I think it is what they say it is. I did not love it as much as like the reception I get from other people, and now it's like the greatest thing of all time. It's a pretty much great book, and you can definitely tell why from like the writing. It's a wonderful depiction of a life. It's really showed a full life lived in very like less than 300 pages actually, which I think is a testament to like Williams's writing. Yeah, I liked it a lot. I don't really want to say too much about it because I'll have a separate review for this book coming out, but we really follow. It's a book about academia, it's about like family, and it's a very sad book, as they say it is. It's not like overwhelming sadness, but it's actually overwhelming sadness because the sadness is very subtle, so you do not know that oh it's this heavy until like it completely washes you. And when you get to the end, like I think it was on reflection I got to appreciate the book a lot more and just see like a lot of what Williams achieved like in this story. And I really highly recommend it. I see why people like it. I see why people like it a lot, and I would definitely pick something up from Williams in the future. So yeah, that's Stoner. Review to come. Maybe that's why I'm not saying much about it, but yeah, review to come. So into the main list now. Coming in at number 4, we have The Friend by Sigrid Nunez. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I did not shut up about Nunez last year. I read 2 of her works, and I read this in November. So yeah, The Friend by Sigrid Nunez. I nearly cried. It follows an unnamed narrator who kind of like takes possession of a friend's dog after the friend passes away from suicide. And in the book in its entirety, it's really a look at like the woman trying to process like her grief and being in possession of like something so personal to a dead friend, and it's like trying to move on from this grief but not being able to move on from the grief at the same time. There's just so much like and so little to say about it, but in essence, like it's just a brilliant novel that looks like at the human condition and something like grief that is so heavy and hard to deal with. And it's one of like the inexplainable things even like today. I read another Nunez before this and I really loved it, and I just think like reading 2 of her works last year, like not back to back, I read the first one in January, this in November. Reading 2 of her works last year, it just like made me appreciate like I think I have an author every year that I appreciate, and she was the author I appreciated most last year, in the sense that I love the way she looks at like the human experience. Like that is her forte, that's what her books are about, and she does them inexplicably well, and you just come to appreciate life, looking at life like the human experience in every variation is portrayed in her novels. And I think her depiction is always so true to life, and her signature style, for anyone who has read that will know that it's like imputing like these literary references, like trying to use literary references, quotes from philosophers, authors, everything to just kind of like explain life in a sense. And it's always lands, even though I'm not like from the US, and most of these references are like of course from like foreign references, they always still do so much for me because like I just think I get it. I don't know, I think that's the best way to put it, that I get it, and I cannot wait to read more of her novels. She has like a very wide array of novels, so I'm looking forward to to reading more. I'm on a third one, like I said now. So yeah, it's a good it's a friend. It's such a very heavy book, and it's just a beautiful look at the different ways like we all deal with death. Because in a way, you see the way the narrator, who is a human being, deals with the his friend's death, and the dog as well. It's kind of like a character in it, the way he deals with the death of his owner. And yeah, I think it's just a wonderful book, and I highly recommend it. So coming in at number 3, we have a book whose film adaptation I already saw before reading this book, and it's The Lost Daughter by Elena Ferrante. I watched The Lost Daughter in 2022 during like that award season, because I usually follow like the Oscars and like the award season. So I saw it. It was one of like the more acclaimed films of the time, and I watched it and I loved it. Really, actually, it was my favorite film of that year and one of my favorite films of the decade so far. And I knew it was connected to an Elena Ferrante novel because that year, Alex from What Page Are You On had it in his top 10 list. And so I really decided like I would not be reading it again, because I do not watch a film first then read a book. It's usually the other way around, or most times I really do not just watch the film at all, because I always have the idea that the film does not do justice to the books. But I decided to read it last year during Women in Translation Month in August, and I liked it so much, and I still think of it to this day. Lost Daughter follows this woman Leda, who is, I think she's a professor in a university, and she's going on a vacation to I cannot remember if it's Greece or Italy. I think it's one of them. But she goes on like this vacation where she stays like at a resort, but in the course of this vacation she goes to the beach every day. And one day on the beach she encounters like this family, but specifically a mother and a daughter. She begins to observe a mother and a daughter, and through like the observation of this young mother and her daughter, it kind of like takes us through a process where Leda is like reflecting on her life and on her youth, because she had her 2 daughters. We find out that she had her 2 daughters very early on as well, and so it's just kind of a look at how it was like for her then, processing like motherhood so young. And it's a book about motherhood. It's really about like a lot of things that like women think about but do not do. I find it that is such a fascinating and brilliant portrayal of like what it means to be a provider, what it means to hold a child. And there are so many, like, it's such a short novel. It's less than I think 180 pages, but it just packs so much, and the film does it so much justice. I think Maggie Gyllenhaal, she did a wonderful job with the adaptation, which has Olivia Colman, who is I think one of like our best actresses today. And yeah, I really loved this novel. I cannot wait to read more of Elena Ferrante's work. I do intend to read like the famous Neapolitan Quartet finally. I don't know if it will be this year, because I do not have the final 2 books yet, and I want to have all 4 of them, so maybe I just binge them at once. But yes, The Lost Daughter, I really highly recommend it. If you're looking for something short, if you're looking for a great character study, I think this is the book for you. So at number 2, we have To Paradise by Hania Yanagihara. This also, I'm not going to be talking about an extreme lot, because I have a detailed review planned for it. I actually finished this like maybe a few months ago, 3 to 4 months now, and I read it over the span of like 5 months because it was so big. It's not even the biggest thing I've read. I've read something big in 3 months, but I don't know, it just took a lot from me, and with school as well. But To Paradise by Hania Yanagihara, if for those of us who do not know, so A Little Life, that's A Little Life by Hania. That's my favorite novel of all time, and I read that in 2021, was blown away by her. And this, when I saw that she had a new novel coming out in I think 2022, I cannot remember, since I did not have access to like some of these books here, I begged a friend so much, and she was so kind to pre-order it for me and send it to me here in Nigeria around the time it was released. And I finally got around to it this year, and I just think Hania is a brilliant author. I have a lot of problems with her. I had a lot of complaints with this novel, but I think it's just impossible to deny her brilliance and deny what she does with this novel. Starting the book, I complained for like a chunk of it. So Paradise, it's a novel which is really like 3 stories in one, but it's actually one novel and it's divided into 3 parts, and each part is about a different century. So the first part is about the 1800s, is set in the 1800s. The second part is set in the 1900s, and the third part is set like far into the future, the late 2000s, 2090 something. And so the book is about these 3 generations, and each part we look at different characters, but really all these characters, they all have the same names. All this I will talk about a lot in the review, but all characters have the same names. So it's really the same names used throughout the novel. David, Charles, Nathaniel, you'll come to see these names over and over in the different parts of the book, but you notice that we're not really talking about the same people. But yeah, aside my gripes with the book, her prose is immaculate. Her writing is always a treat, and yes, it does get a bit too tedious at times, but I always think that she just does enough. It's more her storytelling in this novel that was not my favorite thing. She attempts to go for too much, and there are parts of it that work for me and there are parts of it that do not work. But I will say that at the end, to just shorten this and leave the rest for the review, at the end of this book, I was stunned. I think it's the most ambitious book I have read this decade so far. It's the most ambitious work by far, that I think one of the most ambitious books that have been released this decade. And I really think, like, if when considered as a whole, if it was to be a short story collection, I don't think I would have appreciated it or liked it as much, or even if it was a collection of stories. So I like that it's branded as a novel, because when you consider all parts and consider them as like in concept of the book and the names of Paradise, I think like what it shows is just, it's brilliant. I really describe it as a wonderful look at how history will always repeat itself. And yeah, I was not expecting this book to be anywhere near this list, but I finished it, and it was maybe almost number 1, not very close to my number 1, but I finished it one night, and I had my mouth open, seeing that although I complained so much during it, she had somehow done enough to warrant like praises. And it's like I said, while there are things, her gift is undeniable, her abilities are undeniable. She does get it when it comes to like certain characters. She does have an idea of like what she wants always in her stories. You always see that. I've read 2 of her works now, and you see that she has an idea of what she wants her book to be like and what she wants her story to end up as, and she's always very stern on her stories, yeah, which I don't think always favorable to her, but in the 2 cases they have worked out. This one not so much, but at the same time, yeah, I kind of recommend it. I really recommend it. Like, if you liked A Little Life, I cannot say it's the same thing. It's not the same thing. It's very far from the same reading experiences, and that's why I did not go into this like expecting A Little Life. Far from it. I wanted something good, something, yes, maybe match your previous work, but give me a different work. And it's a very, very different work. People were divided on it, and I see why. But yeah, I really liked it, and yeah, if you want, please read it. I don't know if to recommend it or not, because but I liked it. And if you like Hania, I don't know if you like this, but I think it's worth a try. That's how I think this book is worth a try for anybody who likes like Hania Yannikahara, not A Little Life. If you like the author and you liked her prose, I think you should check out this work and see for yourself. And the number 1 book, my top book of last year, was What Are You Going Through by Sigrid Nunez. And yeah, I loved this book. This book, I did not really expect it to end up here, because I read it at the beginning of the year in January. I finished it early January I think 18th. So that's the idea that, of course, moving through the year, there'll be something else. I'll surely find something else. But it's the book that stayed with me the most. It's the book that impressed me the most. My introduction to Sigrid Nunez, and I am forever grateful, because she She stunned me from the onset of the novel till the end with her brilliant writing, her wonderful look at humanity, which I think everybody should at least read her once. I really feel it's impossible to dislike her. If you dislike her, then I have no words for you. Just don't let me know about it. But yeah, what are you going through? It's really a book that mirrors its name, essentially. And the name is drawn from a Simone Weil. I don't know if that's how you say her name. I think it was a French philosopher, and Simone, and it's spelled Weil, Weil, I don't know. But it's a book that is drawn from one of her quotes, which like says that the love of your neighbor in all its fullness really simply means being able to say to him, what are you going through? And that's what the book is about. It's about what happens in the world, what happens in different parts of the world. It's about like the everyday, it's about like the human experience. And there's a plot at the core of the book, as there is in The Friend as well. But really, the plot at the core of the book is never like the focus. The focus is like, I know I've said it so much, but the focus is more about like the human experience, because that's like the center of everything. The humanity is everything, because what we get throughout the book is the narrator, our named narrator. She is basically recounting like the experiences of various people back to us, conversations she has heard with people, conversations she had with people, conversations that people have recounted to her. And I just found it so brilliant, and it's just like learning about what happens everywhere. And at the core of the book, there's this plot where a friend, so the narrator, needs the friend's help in committing suicide, in killing herself, because she is dying, and so she rather decides to go earlier than expected. I don't know, I cannot recall if the disease she had was cancer or not, but yeah, that's where we start at. And we follow this plot, we followed like this part of the book throughout. It comes up and there, but what we see more is just this narrator just giving us these tidbits of life that I just found so rewarding to read about, to learn about it. I think her books like just help you understand the world better. It just gives you, it's even if you do not get to understand, I think you get to see, and like witnessing it's enough in of itself. And it's really a woman bearing witness to the world, because that's what she's doing for the rest of the novel. And I don't have so much to say about it. I do have a review of this book, like link, it's on my website, which is, it's listed below. I cannot use the link function now, but it's listed below, but you can check that out as well. But I recommend Secret Unions highly. I loved this book. If there's any book I loved so much last year, it was this one. It wasn't a 5-star read, but at the same time, I just think it did enough for me. And yeah, I recommend it. If you read one Nunez work, I think you should go with this one. People usually like The Friend more, and because it was her first popular book, I think it won like the National Book Award or something. It was her first one that blew up. But I think I like this one a bit more because I read it first. I think that's the only thing. I read it first. And so reading The Friend is not really, it's seeing her style again, and her style is always sweet to see her style. It just has like that little plot, and I think it works. It's a wonderful book on its own. I just like this one just a tidbit more. I loved it so much, and yeah, everyone should read it. It has all the things that characterizes her writing in it, all the literary references. It has so much more. I think reading her for the first time, it was the first time I saw like this style where an author is like there's so much referencing done inside, but it's not like referencing done that it takes away from the novel. No, it just amplifies it. It amplifies like this view of the world that she's trying to portray to us. And yeah, please read it. If anyone, read this one. But yeah, that's the video, and those were my top reads for 2023. I definitely am hoping for better this year, and I'm hoping for more. I definitely plan to read more because I graduate very soon, so maybe there'll be more time for books. And yeah, please let me know your top books of the year in the comments, and if you like this video, please like, comment and subscribe, and help share too. And thank you all for the support so much last year, and like I said, more to come this year. Bye.